Dear Mrs. Schrader, we regret to tell you that your project unfortunately has not been funded. Hi guys, so today's video is about rejection and how to handle it. Hi, I'm Astrid. I'm the founder of Thearc, an international mastermind for everybody who is impact driven and wants to use their unique talents, purpose and passions to build something that inspires themselves and others. Now, the topic of this video obviously hasn't been chosen not because I like it so much or because I'm such a master of it. Actually, those who really know me know that rejection is probably the worst thing you can do to me. I am doing so much in my life just to not get rejected, right? Nevertheless, it's been so much requested, and at least we thought we should share some of the ways how I and we have learned to deal with rejection and some ways to figure out to sort of stay sane anyways. So in the coming minutes, we're going to share 3 essential truths that we have discovered in our coachings that have really helped us, but also our clients so much to handle their sort of bad feelings around rejection. Also, if you want to get started for real, do stay tuned with us until the end of this video, because that's when we're going to give you a hint on how you can work together with us. So we are coaching so many entrepreneurs, and obviously rejection is this one big fat topic, you know. Fear of failure is probably discussed in almost every single meetup that I've been to, but this is not just something for entrepreneurs. I mean, it's probably not worth saying it, but being rejected is something that everybody meets in their daily lives. So the first insight is that if people reject you, it actually rarely has anything to do with you as a person. I mean, just think about it. Rarely do people wake up in the morning saying, hey, today I'm going to make someone else brutally unhappy, and that person happens to be you. First of all, that rarely ever happens, and second of all, if that does happen, why would you even care? You know, if someone makes it their mission of their life to make you unhappy, like, why would you even care? Sure, there's a lot of people that we actually encounter in our coachings that are so frustrated or almost hopeless or even desperate about the idea that, wow, what am I putting out in the world that other people have the impression they can do that with me? Am I someone who is just worth being treated so bad? And if that sounds a question that's familiar to you, think about it like this. What if it was your choice to think whatever you want to think? And I know this sounds so weird for some of you, you know, saying, yeah, all this positive thinking, blah-de-blah-de-blah. And it is a bit of a thing to wrap your head around, but at the end of the day, there's nobody forcing us to think such things. And I'm saying this because I've been there. I've also thought these things, and I felt miserable because of people, you know, not being nice, hashtag teenage years, but nobody forces you to think that. So you could just as well let it go. One approach that I personally really like that really helped me were the words of Andy Goldstein, because what he is saying is, look, there's no point in worrying about failure, or for that video it would mean worrying about rejection, because hey, it is going to come. There's no way you're going to live your life without ever failing, without ever being rejected. The important question is not when does it come and how can I protect myself as good as possible from this. The important question is, when failure or rejection comes, what kind of person are you choosing to be? What kind of person are you choosing to be when the shit hits the fan? And that's the one thing he loves saying. And the other one I really like from him, the other statement, is that what if you managed to think of rejection and of failure as an opportunity for breakthrough? And I know it sounds so US American to say this, you know, hey, in dark times look for the opportunity for breakthrough, but literally, I've been applying this on myself and trying to take a situation where you feel so utterly terrible and try to see what are the maybe tiny opportunities that could turn this situation into something wonderful. It just shifts your focus entirely. And as we all know, we are our thoughts, you know, our reality is what our brain makes of it. The second insight is, what if rejection is just another form of feedback? And feedback, as we all know, may tell you something about the receiver, but definitely tells you something about the sender. So one example I always like to quote is that years ago, I myself was in some personal development course, and we were in small groups, and the task was to sort of give each other constructive feedback. And I remember we had one participant in our group of who everybody said, "You're so dark, you're so bitter, you're surrounded with such a heavy energy." And I was confused because I failed to see darkness in him. I saw emptiness. I saw sort of a sense of him being very bored, but I didn't see darkness. So in the coffee break, I was asking my fellow participants, how come you saw that darkness? And they were going, "Wow, didn't you see his tattoos on his arms? It was crazy, the guy was so dark." And I'm like, huh? How did these tattoos make him dark? And it turned out that he had a lot of Satanistic symbols and Gothic symbols on his arm, which I simply did not know, right? So there were a couple of very interesting truths that came with this for me. One was, because I hadn't known what these symbols meant, I just didn't see that sort of darkness in him. It was nothing that I had associated with that person. They, however, did. And the second cool, funny truth was, like, in any case, this guy turned out to be a completely funny and sweet, loving family father who definitely sort of regretted years later that he had committed that little sin of putting those symbols on his arm. And I love this story because it illustrates so well. Your own glasses are, most of the time, what determine your feedback. And it's not so much the person or the thing that you're feedbacking. So if I try to sort of get over one rejection, one way of thinking that I try to apply is, rather than saying, "Wow, I really suck, I must be terrible," I try to think, wow, that is apparently the way that this person chooses to reveal him or herself to the universe today. It may have something to do with me, but it doesn't. I have to choose by myself what it is that I'm taking out of this feedback. And the third insight is related to the second. It is know who you are. If you know who you are, you're going to find it so much easier to have stable grounds to stand on when, people throw stuff at you. And I've experienced this in so many ways in my life, but I remember one of the weirdest way was when I was in my teenage years. I lived in another country for a longer amount of time, and I actually ended up being accused of being a Nazi, because that's something they thought about Germans. I personally was completely sure that Nazi is something I definitely was not. So that sort of accusation never sort of got through. I was rather thinking, wow, what did you drink this morning? And that was because I was definitely sure that the thing I was being sort of called out for wasn't something that I had made myself of guilty. Is it always like that? Hell no. I mean, we are building a business in the coaching space, and interestingly, we have hard data and a lot of data that the Thearc is changing people's lives massively. And still, when I meet people from my past that trigger me easily, for instance, I doubt, right? I doubt, is what we are doing really the best thing I could possibly come up with? Is it really, And I love this question that I sometimes get being asked, are you having a real job? Isn't that something slightly esoteric? All these things. And I get so insecure about them because sometimes I don't know who I am. And I just want to share this with you because that's a journey that I am personally on, and I said I'm not a master of, having rejection come at me and saying, yay, I am the king of the universe. And maybe the final inside is it's a freaking journey. Cultivating self-love, cultivating self-knowledge is something that never ends. I think it would be crazy to say that my goal is to at some point be fearless of rejection, because also if I don't have any fear of rejection, how would I celebrate if someone says yes, if someone says yes to me as a person, to the things I'm building or the people around me? So maybe that's the closing sentence If we are fearful of rejection, it doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. Yeah, that's it for today. I hope that you found this valuable. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with the points that we've said. Maybe you also have your own little strategy on how you handle rejection better. And as always, if you want to get started for real, get some real life kick-ass coaching and lift yourself to the next level by using your passions, values and talents to build something that inspires yourself and others, do dare to sign up for a coffee chat with us. It's a 45 to 60 minute free coaching conversation in which we find out together A, what's holding you back, and B, whether the Arc is the best organization for you to fuel your own personal growth. With these words, I am wishing you a fabulous rest of the day and enjoy whatever is coming next. Bye bye!